running your mouth. I'm gonna bust your eye. My eye's busted.
Hey, I've had that before. It's fine.
Man.
You wouldn't punch a guy with glasses anyway.
Yeah, I would.
Damn it.
Dude, so like I talk about doing these boxing lessons, we're pretty deep into it now. I've probably been doing it for about 3 months. You know, Monday, Wednesday, going down there and doing the boxing. I mean, it's kickboxing, but we're primarily focusing on our hands. Man, last night, so what we've been doing is increasing our sparring and, you know, not going hard, but, you know, you start out like 40, 50% and then work up to whatever you think your 80% might be. Not trying to kill anybody, but trying to get in some good work, trying to touch people for sure. And, you know, I'm working with St. John, who's 6'5", 280, and this guy named George, he's about 6 foot, 6'1", 190. That's primarily my two partners right there. And then the owner of the gym, like I've talked about in the past, Sean, is an animal. Sean's 47 years old, still hammering away. You know, he's probably 5'9", 5'8", 5'9", 180 pounds, but just a ball of energy and been doing it since he was a kid. And he hardly ever gets in there with us anymore, like, because he's just, you know, too good. He's had professional fights. Anyways, so we started out last night, start out in the heavy bags, and we do 2 long rounds. It's like 2 10-minute rounds, starting out at 50%, 60%, 70%, 80, 90, 100 to finish up. Take about a minute break, do it again. Then we went and did some sparring. So start out the first couple of rounds with St. John and George. Hold my own, do my own thing. Each of us touching each other, moving around, feeling good. Then Sean goes, hey, all right, championship rounds, it's me and you. So we're going 5-minute UFC type rounds, boxing, all right? Sean wears me out in these rounds. I'm talking about, like, completely breaks me. His being a kidney shots a couple times, like where I had to take the knee, so he dropped me pretty much, knocked the breath out of me. It's one of those things. But then in the second round, I had enough of that, so I finally just big boyed him, put him up against the fence. I was like, no, we're not doing this.
Sometimes that's what you got to leverage, though.
Yeah, so I just put him up against the fence and wasn't going to let him out. So he was still hitting me, like, with little bitty shots, not hurting. But and he finally weaseled his way out. When he slipped out, I was so heavy moving forward, trying to hold him up against the cage in, like, that dominant position. As soon as he slipped, my head went down, and where we were, we were on the outside of the cage, like on the pads.
Oh, okay.
Like everybody's out there sparring.
Okay.
So I'm on the outside of the cage holding him up against that part of the wall. So when he slipped out, I hit the metal side of the cage. It
like
was
the link or the
no,
post?
like the post.
Damn.
Yeah, and I hit it on the corner, so it's like a hexagon post.
Yeah.
I hit the corner of the metal post. And I was trying to hold him up against the fence pretty hard. So... yeah, man, was busted open immediately. Now, not to mention that my nose was busted, my lips busted, but good times.
Like, here's my thing. I think, and maybe it's just like our generation is a glutton for pain, but I feel like there is something to the human body that's just like, oh, you're in pain, you've been hit, you're fighting, but there's like a small dopamine release.
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously it's adrenaline. Adrenaline is probably and dopamine I think are pretty linked at this point. But the fact that, like, I've been in plenty of fights, but I've always walked out of the fight, even if I lost, I was just like, that was a good fight.
Yeah.
Like I held my own for the majority of them when I was, you know, able to fight.
Right.
And there's just something about it that's just like, I want to get punched again.
Yeah. So when we go in there and we're like the bag and all that stuff, for being technical, that's good and it's all right. But whenever we start sparring, like, sparring to the body is fine as well. But there's something about going up to the head and being able to get hit in the chin or hit in the nose. As soon as you get hit in the nose, I'm awake.
Yeah.
Like, I wish every morning I could wake up and get hit in the nose. That'd probably be better than a cup of coffee.
Probably, yeah.
But anyways, man.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Speaking of combat sports,
Yeah.
a little bit of UFC for this weekend. So, big weekend in UFC. They got a bunch of big weekends coming up, back to back to Fight Island 2.0. And starting out, the card is UFC 253 with the main event of Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. And it's the first championship match with 2 undefeated fighters since, I want to say, like 2008 or 2009. So it's been a while.
Damn.
Yeah, been over 10 years since they've had 2 undefeated to go up against each other for the belt. So excited about this one. Everyone seems to think Israel Adesanya is going to be the heavy favorite. But, you know, there's something to me. There's something to me that looks at Paulo. And you can't look at him and think that he's not going to win. Have you seen Paulo Costa?
Let me look him up.
Look him up real quick.
Let me
Pull him
look-
up on
let
the
me
screen.
look up.
Pull my man up on the screen.
Okay.
It's extremely difficult for me to Google this man, look at him, and watch him train.
How do you spell his name?
That'll work.
Okay.
Costa.
Costa. All right. Damn.
Yeah, so let's pull him up. Let's get him up on the screen here real quick. All right. So this is my man, Paulo Costa.
Yep.
He's fighting middleweight, which means he's got to weigh in tomorrow at 185.5 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay? My man is my size.
Jeez.
So he walks around between 220 and 230. He's 200 pounds yesterday.
Damn.
So he's got to cut 15 pounds in the next day or so. And you can see him when he go to the one like where he's on the scale.
Right here.
Yeah, well, even that right there, that's him filled back up going into the fight. Because what they do is they weigh in early,
Yeah.
and then they come back and do like the fake weigh in. Try to find one where it looks kind of behind the scenes. He'll be real sunken in. No,
that's real.
Type in Paulo Costa weigh in, and it'll pull one up. There's a dip. Let's see.
That's all the same one for the most part.
Okay, go down one, right there.
Damn. That's lean.
Yeah, so that's what he looks like when he's 185 pounds. And now just go up one, and you'll go up straight up.
Right there?
Nope. Straight up. Right. That one. So that's him probably a little bit filled out later that day, probably weighing about 195. When he fights the next day, because they've already came out with it, he weighs in at 185. The next day when he fights, about 36 hours removed, he weighs 217 pounds.
How?
Water. I mean, you got to think about what he has to do to cut down like that.
Okay. So this is dehydrated, Hugh
Like,
Jackman level
Yeah,
kind of shit.
look at his cheeks.
Yeah. No kidding.
So, that's about as low as that man can go.
Oh yeah. There's almost no fat here.
So then, you go over here to the bottom left.
Right here?
Yeah, click that. So that's him in the cage, 36 hours removed.
That's
He's
crazy.
My size.
So tell me something, and this is coming from somebody that does not understand UFC and weigh-ins and anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Is there a science and or art to weighing in under your level, but then day of being way over that weight?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so the biggest thing, and a lot of bodybuilders or wrestlers or combat sports, anything like that where you have to weigh in for something day of, you're looking at a water depletion. So pretty much what you do, for example, is you would drink 3 gallons of water. This is not exact, but say you drink 3 gallons of water on one day, you drink 2 gallons the next day, 1 gallon the next day, a half a gallon the next day, a quarter.
Yeah.
No water. You just
Dehydrate.
however long you need to go without having any water. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
You'll see those guys, they'll go to drink water and spit the water out.
Yeah.
On those days.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, that's just.
And then you got to think sauna protocols.
Yeah.
They're in the sauna. Have you seen, speaking of shows that we like to talk about shows these days, there's a show on Netflix called Kingdom.
I haven't seen it.
And it's about MMA.
Okay.
It's an MMA drama show. So bro.
Is it like Ballers but for UFC?
Yes. Well, it's like Friday Night Lights for football.
Oh, okay.
Except MMA.
That makes sense.
It's all about the family aspect of it. Like a dysfunctional family who owns, the dad owns the gym.
Yeah.
His girlfriend is part owner. His wife's a meth head. she starts to come back into the mix. They haven't got a divorce yet. He's got 3 sons who fight.
Okay.
He got 2 sons that fight, and then his main guy, like his superstar, his Conor McGregor, is his gym partner, like the partner of the gym, the girlfriend, her ex. And when he went to prison for almost killing his dad, then they started. It's like a whole dysfunctional.
That's like,
but
Jerry Springer.
And it's all like these guys all trained MMA. Brian Callen's in it.
I've heard that name before.
Frank Grillo from Captain America.
Okay.
Is he's the main actor.
Okay.
He's the dad.
Frank Grillo.
Frank Grillo, look him up. He's one of the bad guys in.
Crossbones.
Yes.
Yeah. Damn.
He's also in Billions, but anyways, yes. So, and he was in Warrior, the MMA movie that came out a few years ago.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So it's kind of like Warrior, except 3 seasons.
Yeah.
First season's 10 episodes, second season's 20, third season's 10. It was on DirecTV.
2014.
Yeah, it was on DirecTV, and then Netflix just bought it. So it came out on Netflix in July, and it's been like a #1 hit on Netflix since July.
Okay.
So it's
Nick Jonas is in it?
Yeah, Nick Jonas is one of yeah, it's good, man. He does an okay job.
Yeah. I've never said that like pop stars can't act.
Yeah.
Like there have been some, like Nick Jonas. He's not bad.
Right.
He may get, some jokes thrown around, but
the guy that's the best actor in the show is Jonathan Tucker.
Yeah, the main guy.
No, well, he's not the main guy. But I mean, he's one of the 3 main guys.
Okay.
But he steals it. Jonathan Tucker.
What else is he in? His face looks familiar.
He's in American Gods.
Okay.
He's in Westworld.
Westworld. Okay.
Because I looked him up earlier. He is in
the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, he was in that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's really good. Cool. He plays like the brother that is kind of a loser, like the most gifted, but the biggest loser because he's addicted to everything in the world.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, fantastic show.
Yeah.
Fantastic show. Where was I going with that?
Tell me about the behind, like, in the background of MMA.
Oh, so it really shows you like behind the scenes of like the training camps and everything these guys have to go through and the cutting weight process. Like that's one of the shows. Like every time there's a fight coming up, which might be 6 episodes into a season or whatever, that's like the episode.
I just remember for a long time in high school, I was always confused. Like I got cutting weight, like you have to make your weight class, because we had some wrestlers that for some reason were like, you know what, I'm gonna go play soccer this year. And it'd be like we'd start training, late fall, all through winter into our spring season. Well, winter, that's wrestling season.
Yeah.
And these guys would come in, and like one of them was one of our better players, so no, nothing knocking him. But the other guys, they would just be like, man, I can't work out too hard because if I do, I'll bulk up and then I won't make my weight class. And we're just like, dude, you're working an entirely different part of your body, really, in a different way at least. Cardio versus leg power, leg strength, and leverage.
Right.
But yeah, it always like confused me. I was just like, well, one, I get it. You're trying to fight somebody smaller than you, hopefully. If not, you're just trying to make a smaller weight class.
Right.
Because if you're in a higher weight class, obviously you're probably going to fight somebody bigger than you.
Yeah.
I get it. But it's just like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's so confusing because, again, I didn't do it. So
yeah,
I'm not in part of that world. But it's just like, if you're a certain weight class and you want to get down to another weight class, that's fine. But like, I feel like there's certain parts of you that could probably just live at that weight instead of having to be the big, huge guy and then cutting down super small and then bulking back up.
Right.
But that's high school versus MMA.
Yeah.
MMA is entirely different.
Well, you got to think. So, like these guys are if you're walking around, say at 215, like you can fight 185. 20 pounds is really nothing.
Yeah.
A 20-pound cut's nothing.
Yeah.
But Paulo Costa, I mean, he's cutting 25, 30, 35 pounds.
God.
But you also got to think what's crazy. Brock Lesnar, to make the heavyweight division, has to cut that much.
That's insane.
And he's walking around at 300 pounds. He's got to weigh 265.5.
Yeah.
So you think that's the crazy part. Think about this. You got to cut to make 265, which means when he's fighting, he's probably fighting at 280. And some guys are weighing in at 245 just because that's just their natural weight, and they fight heavyweight.
Yeah.
They have no way of making 205.
That's.
And then you got guys like Connor, and it's pretty much by height. So like you got guys like Connor who are 5'11", who are fighting 170 now.
Yeah.
Connor dominated 145, but he can't do the cut anymore.
Yeah.
He can barely cut to 155.
It's just.
Yeah. So like, how much do you want to like dedicate? Like how much are you willing to give up?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, if I was fighting, I would probably try to fight. I'd probably try to cut down like 170.
Yeah. I mean, that seems safe.
Yeah. That was terrible.
I mean,
I'd probably make 185, but
yeah.
Because I'm like Paulo Costa. He's 6 foot, 230 pounds, and that's what I am, roughly. That'd be a tough cut. That's a tough cut, man.
Going from 200 to what'd you say? 270, 280?
No, from 230. No, I'm saying it's from 230 to 185. Within like a month.
No thanks.
I mean, at least 15 pounds.
I'm just, part of me, like, they can do whatever they want. They're obviously doing pretty well for themselves. They're way more in shape than I am. But I've got to wonder, like, what are the ramifications, like, years down the road for just rubber banding that much? Not really rubber banding, but, like, going up, cutting down, going up, cutting down, going up, cutting down. There's probably, I can't imagine there's not any, like, lasting effects from that.
Well, I mean, if you look, there's no data yet.
Yeah.
But we're going to be seeing that kind of come around here within the next
5-10 years, say.
Well, I mean, you look at the early 2000s was really when they really started like making weight, because like early UFC there was no weight classes.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 2000s is really when it took off. So I mean, the guys that were 30 years old in the 2000s, I mean, might start seeing it a little bit in the next 5 or 10 years, maybe 15, 20 years.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's just like it's kind of like the football kind of thing with just like, head injuries and stuff. Yeah. You don't see that stuff immediately.
Right.
And you don't see it when a sport is so MMA's not new, but it's new.
Yeah.
This iteration. So I'm just curious. It's something that I'll definitely follow, because I followed the concussion thing with football really closely.
Well, I can tell you this. My friends that wrestled in high school, that didn't wrestle at their natural weight, that actually cut weight to wrestle something to have the advantage.
Yeah.
They're all out of shape now. The majority of them.
And that makes sense.
And so it might have a metabolism effect.
I think so.
But then it might just be one of those things where like they starve themselves for so many years that they just don't want to eat food and just refuse to do it.
That's also fair. Like that's a psychological thing.
So like it'd be anxious. I'd be love to see like Connor. Like what's Connor going to look like? Connor's my age. What's Connor going to look like when he's 50?
Yeah, that is a good question, because Connor.
Like who's going to age better? Like that. Like that's fair.
Yeah. I feel like Connor he's still fighting, but he's done his work.
Yeah.
I don't even think he thinks he needs to fight anymore.
Isn't it crazy that he's like, literally my like
yeah.
I think he's 31, 32.
That's kind of bothersome for me. Jeez. I could have sworn he was at least like maybe Chris's age, 30 something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ridiculous. Anyways, yeah. So also on the card, Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz.
You didn't sound very confident in those names.
Dominic Reyes, I'm confident.
Well, yeah.
Jan Blachowicz, or whatever his name is, I'm not. Anyway, so here, let me go ahead and set the mood for you. Light heavyweight championship. The king of the light heavyweight championship forever, pretty much. Last decade has been John Jones. John Jones is still fighting. John Jones has yet to be beat. John Jones has decided to go to heavyweight, everyone's assuming, because he vacated the light heavyweight championship, which means that I believe it's the number 1 guy and the number 3 guy are fighting for the belt. So, and that's only because Thiago Santos is out still with his injury and hasn't had a fight yet. So, I mean, I'm assuming Dominique's going to win this fight. I'm going to take him just because he's a former football player. He looked good against John Jones. You know, a lot of people had him winning that fight. I'm a John Jones guy. I didn't think that what Reyes did won that fight. I think that he had more volume and looked like he was winning the fight, but I don't think the strikes were actually landing. If you watch that fight kind of in slow motion, he just didn't really hurt John. Anyways, Jan's older, 37, 38 years old, kind of a marginal fighter, and just gotten a couple good wins here the past couple. I don't know. If I'm a betting man, which I am, already did my DraftKings, I'm going with Dominique Reyes on that one. And I'm going Paulo Costa on the upset on the main card. Then there's several other fights, but they're not really anything to talk about. And then we got a couple more good fight nights coming up in the next few weekends. But you know what we have next week that we need to talk about?
What is that?
That's almost as important as this fight.
Oh?
The first debate.
Who?
Joe Biden,
God.
Sleepy Joe, and the Don.
All right. DraftKings, your bets.
I wish, man.
Dude, what if we... I don't think that's legally possible, but I'll make a gentleman's bet.
The what?
Doesn't even fucking happen.
It's not going to happen?
It's not even going to happen.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. And if it does, it's going to be in like Zoom or something stupid. Or, even better, Donald Trump shows up, but Biden Skypes in.
Do you think that's possible?
Anything's possible. It is 2020.
Man, I think that they have the debate. Biden answered questions yesterday and today, I believe, for the first time.
If you look at both of their town halls, Trump was hit with some like really decent questions, and I actually really appreciated watching that. I've sent it out to a lot of my friends because his town hall, and I think it was NBC, with Stephanopoulos, who is a little bit of a character himself.
Mm-hmm.
You should look into Stephanopoulos if you haven't.
Yeah.
I did some digging, some Chris digging on Stephanopoulos.
Okay.
There's some things about him that really make it questionable why he's even being a host for that kind of thing.
Mm.
Because let's just say he put some money into some people's foundations before 2016, and was also I think either a press secretary or one of the higher, like, not cabinet, but the secondary cabinet, I'd say, of the administration before the second Bush.
Oh, okay.
Not going to say any names. Not going to say, any affiliations. Let's just say his affiliations aren't necessarily moderate.
Right.
But that town hall, you had people asking Trump, what about my mother who died of COVID, who is a legal immigrant? What can you say to immigrants that are trying to come here legally? And Trump said, come on in. You and your mother are both the prime examples of what I want, what we should want in our country, are people that work hard, that came here, did their due diligence, waited, and are legal now, and are now here making our country a better place. And she said that her mother had died from COVID, and he said that's terrible. I'm sorry, but it's affecting 200 million people. There are 200,000 people at this point. So
yeah.
But there are other questions like his thoughts on China. He went in a little bit on that, which we've talked about it plenty.
Right.
I personally have talked about it at length of just like that's something that I think is a key issue that nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
Is how we can not deal with China. We don't need to go in there like we did all throughout the 1900s. But we need to do something.
Right.
Because there are some things that even America's history would look at and be like, wow, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But then I watched Biden's, and Biden answered questions, but they were so lowball. They were just like, what would you do as president to ensure the safety of your American people? What are you going to do about taxes? What are you going to do about health care? All things that we already know Biden's gonna he's already talked about it at length. There were no hard hitting questions.
Right.
Getting to, hey Biden, what are you gonna do about all of the money your son was given by the Russian, the wife of the mayor of a Russian city.
He did get asked that.
Did he?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He goes, "We're not going to talk about that because there's no evidence. What we're going to talk about is Trump and how bad he is." That's pretty much what he said.
That's so stupid.
That's pretty much what he said.
God,
Like, he got upset, like shaking his little old man finger.
That's the thing about Biden. He doesn't attack the point. He attacks you.
Mm-hmm.
He attacks you. He gets real aggressive, like an old man with dementia, because he can't think of how to attack the point, because the point usually is pretty valid.
Yeah.
No, the stuff coming out about Hunter Biden really freaking frustrates me, because again, nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how Hunter Biden has been given a lot of money for not personal reasons, or not like personal in his bank account. He was given money for hookers and blow. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's not a conflict of interest in any way. Just one, it's illegal, so I don't think
Yeah.
don't think we should encourage that in our political families.
Right.
The fact that we have political families kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
But, no, it's just.
Yeah. So I think it happens. It's Tuesday. They're going to have, they say there's going to be 6 15-minute segments on 6 different topics.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting.
6 topics. Could you even name 6 topics that you really care about?
Well, the biggest one for me is race and violence. I can't wait to hear him talk about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty big topic right now.
See what the other topic. I got this. Let's see.
If I had to guess, race and violence, because you mentioned it, I'm sure that's one of them.
That's one. Yeah.
COVID. Foreign policy.
Okay, so the first block is going to be Trump and Biden's records. The second block
Trump's got a pretty good record, yeah.
is going to be the Supreme Court. Third block is going to be COVID-19.
Okay.
The fourth block is going to be the economy.
Okay.
The fifth block is going to be race and violence in our cities.
Cool. That's
And
the most important one.
Sixth block is going to be the integrity of the election.
That's actually probably the secondary biggest one we need to talk about.
It's going to be 90 minutes without commercial interruption.
It freaking better. If there's even a teleprompter out there, I'm calling BS. Because
Chris Wallace is going to be the moderator.
Chris Wallace.
He's a Fox News host.
Okay. I'll look into him like I did for Stephanopoulos, but I am liable to, believe that that's pretty fair. What's it going to be on?
I'm assuming everything.
Okay. Well, yeah. I just, I don't know. If I had to pick a winner for sure, it's gonna be Trump. Because Trump even, we can go down the list. Their records, peace deals, legislation on crime and letting low-level drug offenses go. Peace in the peace with North Korea for an extent. Like, Trump's doing pretty good, and he says it himself. Look at what I've done in 4 years. The first time I ran for political office, I won the presidency. Are you kidding? Like,
yeah.
And his approval numbers are way up.
That's another thing we can talk about. These random stats of like showing who's in favor of whatever state by like +7, +6, +3. It's like, who have you ever voted on a poll of who you think is going to win the presidency?
Oh, I've never done that.
Who does that?
People that do that are the people that are screaming at the top of their lungs, vote blue no matter who.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Because I'm pretty sure it's the same thing that happened with the Hillary deal. Like, it was like,
this is entirely the same thing.
Hillary's going to win. Hillary's going to win.
And then here's the thing. I feel like this time around it's going to be even more. Because one, we all, for the past, 50 years, presidents have gotten 2 terms no matter what. Like, they fought hard and good, but presidents get 2 terms. At this point, honestly, I almost feel like we should just get rid of the 2 terms and just make it 1 8-year term.
Yeah.
Like, we're already there, guys.
Right.
Or even I'll even bring that down. Just 1 6-year term. That way, 6 years, as long as you're doing your job, you can get something done. Because in 4 years, it's, oh, I just got in, I need to do something. Yeah, I need to figure out how to be president.
It's just starting to get done, and then the final 4 is like seeing it happen.
Yeah, it's really final 4 because you spent, well, the 2 middle years are usually like, I've got to deal with, for Trump, it's been dealing with impeachment all throughout. They wouldn't let it go. It was Russia, then it was impeachment, then it was whatever. But the 2 middle years are really important because, you know, you can't just say like, oh, they've got it under control. Because Trump literally fired like the majority of his cabinet throughout these past 4 years. I honestly think he got in, put people that weren't trustworthy and weren't looking for Trump or America's best interest, and then they just told him, oh yeah, we can go bomb Saudi Arabia. That's not something we need to do.
Right.
And so I think it's important to note that yes, Trump like fired half his cabinet, but he's got good people in there now. Barr, even his press secretary, McKinney.
Stud.
She is super smart and super quick-witted. Like, if we need a woman in politics to look at and say, she's doing it right, it's Tulsi Gabbard and Caitlin McKinney.
Yep.
They're doing great.
Yeah.
And guess who hates them?
Yeah,
the
left.
The people that say they're for women.
Well, even, Tulsi is a Democrat.
Tulsi is a Democrat.
And they don't like her.
They hate her because she's what you say about running a business, or at least a, freight business. She's a woman. She's ethnic. She's a vet. She's got it all.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the Republicans I talked to, they were like, oh yeah, I would vote for Tulsi.
Yeah.
I would vote for her over Trump. Because she actually was pretty moderate, and she kind of sided with a lot of what people want in a president is, I'm the president, but I don't control the states. The states do wherever they want. Gun control, it's a thing we need to do, but we don't need to go overboard on it. Simple stuff that, again, I feel like if Tulsi Gabbard had the nomination, we'd have a landslide for blue.
Yeah.
Because people could rally behind her.
Yeah.
Nobody can rally behind Biden because he's Biden. He's a career politician, 40-plus years.
And what's he done?
And he's done nothing. He's wrote bills that put people in prison. And his vice president went through with that. And Trump has done the opposite. Like, I can't get behind that.
His vice president hid evidence.
She hid evidence and laughed about it. You remember who laughed about something that lost the election last time? Hillary. She laughed about Benghazi. She laughed about Gaddafi. We went in, we killed him, he died. And she laughed. Like, that's horrible. Sure, he may not have been the greatest of guys.
Right.
But I think a lot of political pundits have looked back and said, us killing Gaddafi, like, literally sent Libya into, like, disarray.
Right.
We should have never done that. And that's the person you're wanting me to vote for? Or the vice president of the president that said to do that? No thanks, bro.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Again, Trump has started no new wars.
The first president in
20-plus years?
Yeah.
He literally has not
Since
said...
Desert Storm.
Yeah. He hasn't started a new war. He's more so ended the ones that were already there. Because we don't need to be in war.
Yeah, he said, hey, we don't need everybody everywhere. Let's bring them home. We're not going to police the world.
Yeah.
We're not the police.
Even if we had all of our planes here in America, it would take about, I think, like less than 2 hours to get anywhere. So if there's an attack somewhere, as long as we have ample time, we can get wings up 2 hours tops to get prepped and just go over there and just start wrecking shit. We are way too big and too far away from everyone else in the world to even care about them. Not to say we shouldn't. Like,
right.
There are obviously places that we can go in and we can do good. But my uncles that were both in the military, even my grandfather who was in the military, have all said whatever we've done for the past 50 years was not worth it.
Right.
We have not moved the needle in any way other than people hate America because we're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're in we have 14 bases in Germany alone. 14.
How does that work? How do you get a base?
Exactly. That's a good fucking question. I'm sorry, I'm cursing a lot tonight.
No, but
I'm passionate.
like, Russia just can't come over and go like, you know what? We're putting a base in Dallas. We're gonna base it.
Here's the thing. Guess who asked for it? Germany. Guess who's the leader of the EU? Germany. There might be a little bit of weirdness to that, isn't there?
You would think.
A lot of people are always saying, like, a lot of European people that I've heard from, not talked to necessarily, have always said, like, oh, America's not doing enough for climate change. They're not doing enough for, economic.
How dare you?
How dare you? That was actually really good. But no, again, how dare you? How dare us? We foot the bill for, like, everyone's protection, which we really shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
We can barely. We've got enough problems here that I can admit that we have plenty of problems.
Yeah.
That, hey, maybe we don't have our military across the world. One, for their own mental health of, like, I can't do anything for the people at my own in my own city,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm supposed to be here in somebody else's city that doesn't appreciate me. Imagine being a cop but having to live across the world and can't do anything. That's ridiculous.
Right.
But then we're also putting them at risk being in Germany or being in Turkey or Egypt or Afghanistan. Afghanistan was where both my uncles went.
Really?
Well, one uncle went in the army. The other uncle was a Marine who was, like, in Korea, Germany. He was all over the place.
Right.
But he went on, deployments somewhere in the Middle East for, like, 2 months max.
Right.
Just with the Marines. But both of them has said, just like, I know that people appreciate us there, but the governments there do not. The governments want us there for their protection and human shields.
Yeah.
They're using us as the front lines where we should really be there as the backup.
Right.
And that's not to say that we don't do our freaking work, because there are stories in, like, the German, Italian, Japanese militaries that are like, yeah, Germans, if a guy goes down, you are more than likely going to pull back because they don't want to lose more lives.
Right.
But America just goes right in and blows up the mountain just to get that one guy.
Yeah.
Even if it's a German or an Italian or a Japanese. America goes hard.
Yeah.
and it's frustrating. I could do a whole podcast on why just the military of America frustrates me.
We're the most powerful army that the world's ever seen.
Entirely.
And
because we're in every continent.
And think about, like, all the great, like, when you're looking back at, like, conquerors and all
We
these
look at
great
Sparta,
militaries.
We look at Genghis Khan. We look
Yeah.
at Napoleon. That's a little bit closer to our current time.
Right.
Napoleon had a fleet a quarter of the size of half of our military.
Yeah.
Like, our military, and everyone's seen this statistic, we spend more than the top, like, 50 countries everywhere in the world combined. We spend more than that. We have too much money to spend on military.
But if we ever need it.
But we never need it. We haven't. And where we say we need it, we haven't needed it. We have too much.
At that one time.
Again, I get it, because that one time we all remember, as we should. Now there are some political parties that we say we shouldn't.
Right.
Because it wasn't that important. I sounded like Trump, but that was not Trump that said it.
Right.
And the fact that we collectively as a nation remember that day. Everyone here in this building, I'm sure I could be like, where were you that day?
Mm-hmm.
And they could name off because they just remember.
Right.
They remember where they heard the first news. I mean, there are stories of people, like, in Hollywood that they didn't see it because they didn't have a TV at the time, but they got to, like, Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers was just like, dude, go home. This isn't the time for work. This is a time for being with family. He was like, what do you mean? And they just flipped on the security like TV in the like little station, and he was like, "Holy shit, I didn't even know."
Yeah.
And the fact that happened means that sure, I'm okay with like if I fly on a plane, I'm okay with like being searched. I feel more safe.
Right.
But don't take an hour to search my bag. Don't leave it all on the table for me to pack back up.
Right.
Be respectful.
Yeah.
But also, like, hey, that's keeping us safe. That's keeping everybody on the plane safe. Being in a plane is safer than driving. But let's be honest here. A couple miles up in the air, I don't feel safe.
Right.
So, if that day were to ever happen again, heaven forbid, because I don't think the American population could handle another one of those. We can barely handle what we have right now,
Right.
and nothing major's happened. People have died. People have been shot unfairly, unjustly. Sure, but we could not handle
Yeah.
we are so unable to get together on one issue. Back in May, we all said like, oh yeah, this is something that we all hate. The Gerald Ford case. We're all like, wow, that guy is a piece of shit. We all said that.
Yep.
And here we are, 5 months later, and we're all saying, now the movement after Corona, the
COVID.
movement behind him, that rallied behind that, none of us agree with anymore.
Yeah.
We just can't. And they lost the narrative. They
Yep.
lost the sauce.
I sure did.
Sorry, I've talked for like solid 10 minutes.
No, that's fine. How long have we been on this thing?
40 minutes.
40 minutes. All right, let's wrap this up. Because we've got some extracurricular activities to do today.
Yes.
Speaking of,
I've got the lotion.
sweet. Speaking of, we've got Southern Honor Wrestling, first Friday of October, which is 1 week away. Right?
God.
Is that 1 week?
Yeah. It's the 24th. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1 week away. So we got to do a little bit of filming for that. Got to do a little interview filming. Knock that out real quick. Get that to Dylan, so Dylan can edit it, do his magic, and put out a video next week to get everyone so excited that they come and spend money, hard-earned money, on a ticket to watch me smack Logan Creed's bitch ass all around that ring.
Oh, it's Logan Creed?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
what this is for.
He was the one guy for that show that we did like in Middle Georgia.
Yeah,
That like I talked to Logan Creed for a while, and he was just a cool dude.
yeah, Logan's cool. Oh, Logan was on that show?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so do the deal. Hey, go to YouTube, subscribe, like it, leave a review, share it with a friend. Go to Spotify, tell them, hey, I like Joe Rogan and his opinions. And guess what? You can't censor someone for not being a journalist and having an opinion. You woke Spotify people. I don't care if he doesn't like trans people or if he spreads lies. Because guess what? He's just a guy
He's just
with a
dude.
podcast. Yeah. Hey, check this out. Go listen to the lyrics of your rappers on your little platform, and then censor Joe Rogan. Thank you. Okay.
There are some very rough lyrics.
Yeah. If you're gonna edit the transcript and the dialogue of his podcast, you've got to edit every song that comes onto your platform, right?
That's not a can of worms they want to open.
I don't think so. Not a 100 million can of worms you want to open right there. All right. Anyways, go to Apple Podcast, leave a review, leave a 5-star review, do the thing, and we'll be here next week. One day out. Gary Lamb might be here next week.
Oh.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah. So that'll be good. Leading a little promotion into Southern Honor the next day, and then the following week we'll talk about it, and hopefully I win $100,000 this month on DraftKings.
Hopefully.
So, all right. We'll see y'all later. Bye.